What is up, guys? I'm Shades Moto. Some of you guys might watch my channel on the regular and you just, saw this video. Or there's the reason that you actually need to watch this video. And that is you're trying to learn how to drive a stick shift, or you want to learn more about it, how it works, whatever. Or you're trying to find a video to show someone that you're trying to teach to drive a stick shift. Whatever the case is, this video is on how to drive a stick shift. You can probably tell by the title. I hope you could read. And here's my 2001 PT Cruiser, and we look inside, and see that's a stick. This is a stick shift PT Cruiser. It's kind of rare to find these in stick shift, but it is a stick shift nonetheless, just a normal 5-speed, and it's very similar to like what you would find in any other car, like a Civic or an old Corolla, an old Jetta, something like that. Just a normal 5-speed. Some cars have 6-speed nowadays, but this is pretty much what you'll find in any stick shift car. It's not like a big truck clutch, it's not like a racing clutch. If you buy a stick shift car, you're gonna have something very similar to this. So I'm gonna make this video and hopefully clear some things up for you guys. Okay, besides the stick, the first thing you're gonna notice is, obviously the stick. Most stick shift cars tend to have handbrakes because it's easier. You could go into neutral and not have to worry about rolling. And we'll get talking more about that more in a minute. And look down there are 3 pedals: the gas, the brake, same as an automatic. You just hit them with your right foot. If you know how to drive an automatic, you've driven go-karts, it's the exact same thing. But then you have this pedal, the clutch. I'm in neutral right now, so I can let this out. I could do whatever with it. It's not going to hurt the car. I could dump it. It's, because the car is in neutral, we're sitting still. So right now this does nothing. But if you want to start the car, for example, you got to push that in. And to go into gear, you got to push the clutch in all the way, see? And if I were to let this clutch out, the car would stall. What the clutch does is separates the engine from the transmission. Figure, underneath here, will cable shift the transmission, but you figure this connects to a cable, it shifts the transmission, which is like up there. And that changes the gears in it, which turn your drive wheels. In this case, they're the fronts. Then you have your engine that's spinning. What that's doing is taking the power from your engine and feeding into the transmission when it's engaged. But when you disengage it, it basically separates the two, so that way, without any stress, you could go into the next gear, and then you could apply it gently and mesh the power of the motor back up to the transmission, get them to spin, which in turn causes the wheels to spin. And the concept of shifting gears seems pretty much self-explanatory. I like to think of it like a bicycle. You know what I mean? Like, you can only pedal so fast. Like this car, it has a red line at about 6,000 RPM. It's not really zoomed in, but you could probably tell there's this end of the tachometer. And the tachometer, most automatic cars have them, but it's very important in stick shift cars, especially when you're learning. And, the engine can only turn so fast, just like you can only pedal so fast. So if you're going down a hill, you're on a flat, whatever, and you're able to pedal fast, you'll twist up to the next highest gear. It makes it harder. But you notice with each pedal, it goes faster. But it's also hard to start out on a high gear. Same concept. This is a 3,100 pound car, something like that. So obviously, you need kind of some leverage to get it going. So first gear is for that. It's just kind of like climbing a hill on a bicycle in first or second gear, whatever. But then you start going, you want to upshift. And then, when you're just cruising on a flat or downhill, just like a bicycle, you put it in its highest gear and just kind of coast around. You do the same thing in here. And unlike a bicycle, this has reverse. Bicycles don't need them because they weigh 20 pounds. This, again, weighs 3,000 pounds. And you can't really Fred Flintstone. You'd have to open doors and stuff, so they just put reverse in cars. But that's the way I like to describe it to people that really don't understand the concept. And I'll set the camera up here in a minute, and we'll get driving, and I'll just explain more of the operation. Alright, so let's start with the basics. I had the camera facing kind of down. This is the handbrake. I talked about this. This locks up the back wheels, and it's like for when you're parked on a hill or whatever, you could use it to cheat getting going on a hill start. So that way you don't have to hold the brake, then go to the gas and clutch, which I'll probably explain a little bit more. So this, your first step, if you're on a flat, you can just let it go. You don't have to worry about the car going anywhere. The car's in neutral. You could even start it in gear, but for today's sake, we're just going to start in neutral. Because when you push in the clutch, it's kind of like you're going in neutral, but by just being in neutral, you don't have to push in the clutch as much, which is easier on your throw-out bearing. So, to start a stick shift car, most of them, they have what's called a clutch switch or interlock switch. It means in order for the car to start, so you don't start it in gear and like it goes forward, you have to have the clutch all the way to the floor. So you do that for your left foot. And I just give it a shake, make sure it's in neutral. If it's in neutral, you have lots of shake. Like, lots of play, and it can move any direction. See? A little click there, it's in neutral. Now from up here, see what I mean? It can't, there might be some free play in it, but it's not like and like you kind of feel the spring. And by the way, like when you're in first gear, and you just push back, it springs already in between third and fourth. So you don't push over to go in the third, you'll go in the fifth. So if you're in neutral, and the clutch is in, and it's running, you can take your foot off the clutch. Now the handbrake is off. At this point, if we were on a hill or whatever, someone pushed a car, it could roll freely. Since we're on a flat, it's not rolling anywhere. And the first thing you want to do is practice rolling the car. So clutch all the way in, go in the first gear, and just let the clutch out really slow. And you'll feel it start to kind of grab, and the car will start to maybe kind of roll a little bit. And you'll just kind of feel like where the car wants to start moving. Just practice finding that point, and then just get to that point, just add a tiny bit of gas. Watch your tack. See what I mean? Just give it to like where it wants to kind of judder. Don't let the clutch up too fast. You'll stall. Just kind of get like where it wants to judder and just add a little bit of gas and it'll go forward. And eventually it'll get rolling fast enough as you slowly take your foot off the clutch where the clutch won't be in anymore. And when that happens, put your clutch off to the side so it's not resting on it, because that can harm your clutch if you rest your foot on it. And just practice that in reverse maybe. Just kind of look in your rear view mirrors and just kind of sit. At first, kind of watch the tack as you're doing it. And just practice in between like 1,000 and 2,000 RPM. Maybe slightly more if you're on a steep hill. But you shouldn't be learning on a steep hill if you could avoid it. And just roll back and forth. Get the clutch all the way out. And when you come to a stop, clutch all the way to the floor. As long as you're in gear, like stopped, the clutch has to be to the floor. So if you come to a stop and take the foot off the clutch, it'll stall. So you got to go into neutral, then you can take your foot off the clutch. It's the same thing like when you're letting the clutch out of gear. And before you go into any gear, change gears, clutch all the way in. So again, clutch all the way in, first gear. Okay, like 1,500 RPM. There we go. And see, I'm in neutral, but it can still roll. And that's the hardest part right there, is just getting going. Yeah, just practice first gear and reverse. And now, I'm going to back out onto the street. Yeah, I'm just going to back out onto the street here, and I'll show you guys how to shift. I kind of told you guys how the shift pattern works, but I'll just explain it as I do it. So, in this car, in like lower power 4-cylinder cars, it's like 3,000 to shift. So I'm in first, and 3,000, clutch all the way in, hold it the second, let the clutch out slow with a little bit of gas. Now we're in second. And then if you start slowing down, or you're about to go up a hill, you can downshift. For that, you just clutch in, put it into the lower gear, add some gas, and start letting out the clutch. And I'm going to pull out on the road here and just go through all 5 gears and down a couple. And then I'll pull over and maybe just kind of explain a little bit. Try avoiding hills like that hill I'm on, because that hill there had some gravel at the start. So it's really tricky. You want to give it power, take off on a hill, but... Alright, that's third gear. Just watch what I'm doing, see? Neutral gear. And you could double clutch, which just means hit the clutch twice. Like clutch in, neutral, clutch in, 5th gear. Or you can even do it going down. Just clutch in, neutral, rev, 4th gear. Clutch in, neutral, rev, 3rd gear. And you can do it kind of fast, like You don't have to double clutch. The modern day car of synchros, you don't have to double clutch. You can even shift without the clutch. Well, that's kind of hard on the synchros. Even if you think you're perfect at it, you're causing microscopic wear. But you come out of gear without the clutch, and it causes no harm. What you do is just kind of give it like a goose, and then it springs out of gear. And right now we're in neutral. So I'll give it a few revs, almost 2,000, let the clutch out slow. And now we're doing 45 and 5th. And the biggest thing about driving stick, so it doesn't look like you're chugging or whatever, like about to stall when you start going up a hill, is you see, oh, we're coming up on a hill. We're not going that fast. Just down one gear. It's that easy. You don't want to lug your engine with a stick shift car. An automatic, if you ever hear it like start getting faster or a tach goes up, that's because it downshifted. Driving a stick shift is basically the same thing, except you're doing that shifting. So instead of the computer saying, oh, I sense load going up a hill, you got to realize, oh, we're going up a hill, I think the car's starting to lug, or it could start to lug, grab a gear. Same thing with passing zones. You're in 5th gear, there's some slow poke in front of you or whatever. They go down 1-2 gears. RPMs go up, you could and there you go. And you can shift at red line and stuff. I wasn't quite doing it. You could bang through the gears, but it's a little bit hard on them. So I just decided I would just kind of goose a little, go to the next gear, get on the gas next gear. And that's another cool thing of stick shift. You could change your driving style just based on how you're shifting or how you're feeling. You could cruise around, give it barely any gas, get good gas mileage. Or if you want to be sporty, I'm in 5th right now, right? I can do this. We're in 3rd gear. We're tacking 3,000 RPM, which is the start of the power band in this car. And I could get on it, right? And I'll have some engine brake if I want to let off, so it's easier on my brakes, and I can dive into turns and throw this thing around like a sports car. Or, again, I can just go back to just cruising along. And if you want to do a burnout peel out, you basically do what I said with the clutch, except you rev it more instead of kind of giving it gas. As you're letting the clutch out, you rev it a lot, and then you just let go of the clutch really fast, and you'll do a burnout. Or you could do a start like I showed you and pull out slow, or anything in between. You could skip gears like I showed you coming down. You could like give it gas for the first few gears, like being in 3rd gear, right? Turn the interior light on, but I'm in 3rd gear, right? You can accelerate and then just skip gears, 5th gear. Or you can be in 4th gear, you go down the 2nd, whatever. So really, there's so much freedom with a stick shift. It's really fun once you learn how to drive them. It can be intimidating at first, and I'm not gonna lie, I've stalled many times. I've only stalled a few times in this car because I knew how to drive stick when I got it. And even if you're experienced, you will do something stupid, you will stall. But it adds to fun because you're controlling the car, like, you know what I mean? You're driving it. You think that you're driving, you're having fun when you're driving an automatic. Well, think about this. When you're driving an automatic, you're just holding the wheel. I drive one-handed most because I drive stick, and also power steering, you don't need 2 hands. You want to feel. So, you go down the 4th. But what you do is you drive the car. You got this hand doing the steering, right? That's pretty much the essence of driving. And then you got your brake and your gas. You're controlling that. You pretty much do that in most any automatic car. And then also there's the shifting, right? You're taking off your car. Wah, wah, wah. Well, that's not the transmission doing it. You're doing it. You're involved. There's a reason why it looks cooler in movies, because it takes part of like a visceral feeling we get, like that, just back to like we're doing something. And I'm not saying like it's a man thing, because it could definitely be a women's thing too. I personally love it when a girl can drive stick. Because, why not? You don't want to have, I think, as a guy who's in the girls, I don't want to have to be, the man for everything. It's like, no, you can handle yourself. I admire that. And if you're a woman watching this, learning to drive stick, it kind of gives you power, right? And also, if you find yourself in a situation, whatever, I don't want to get too graphic, but you find yourself in a less than ideal situation and you have to get out of that situation, and there's only a manual transmission car, you know how to do it. They make the argument more for women, I guess, because women tend to be more susceptible to those, just stating facts, but for guys, driving a manual is kind of like, it's a manly thing. But it's not really commonplace nowadays. And see, like that downshift I did there, I did that downshift. Nobody else did that downshift for me. I did that. That downshift is something of, like, my invention. But go this way. Bumpy here, but see, I showed you how to shift your gears. You're not going to get to that point in your first lesson or two. You get on the flat, like the car is in gear, my foot's not on the gas, it'll coast. So you just want to find something like this, right? Just find something like this. Come to a complete stop, it's flat, the car's really not going to roll. If there is a bump or an undulation, any rolling it does is minimal. You just want to get feeling of the clutch of the car. Sit there and just neutral. Feel where the clutch kind of gets stiffer and bitier. And that's your grab point. And just practice finding that. And every car is different. Once you learn how to drive one, you kind of learn how to drive them all. And once you get going, just practice doing that. And just kind of practice whipping around the parking lot in first gear. Just get comfortable driving the car. It makes it less of you're doing a process as to you driving the car. It teaches you, oh, I got the car going. Watch this. I could turn the steering wheel. I could cut it. I could drive it just like any other car. Can I do this without the handbrake? Yes, I can. And you can turn this car around. Right? You can whip this car all over. You're just driving a normal car at that point. It gets you more comfortable with it. And then once you feel like, okay, I did that well. I was driving the car. Got used to how it felt. Just do the same thing again, maybe. Just a little bit of gas, you know, and just practice idling the car around. Maybe give it like a punch of gas. Because stick shift cars, because most automatic cars shift like immediately to second. It's just the way they are. So if we're kind of bucky in first gear, you kind of got to get used to being smooth with the throttle in them. And different cars are different. But just get used to like the throttle sensitivity. First gear, it's more sensitive, so just driving around, kind of giving it some gas, learning how to feed into it, really helps, because that's half of the equation. The clutch is the big part, but so is like feeding it the right amount of gas and keeping the revs where you want them while you're engaging and disengaging the clutch. And then maybe practice, if you have enough space, go into second gear. And just practice, oh, I could bang off that shift, maybe go back down to first at 10 mile per hour. Nothing where you really have to rev match, just like, oh, okay, I see how this works. You can go up and you can go down the gears. Then maybe practice like rolling around to neutral. And get used to the concept of when you stop. Maybe doing a couple practice stops while the car's still in gear. Like here, I'll let the clutch all the way out. I was rolling in neutral. Maybe just practice, like hit the brake, go into the clutch. And then go into neutral. Maybe just practice brake over the clutch. It gets you used to like when you slow down a lot, you need to push the clutch in, select another gear, whatever. Because remember, it's basically the same as driving any other car, except you're doing this part of the equation. The engagement of the gear. You don't have a torque converter spinning. You don't have a automated manual like most BMWs and stuff are. I want some ice here. It was like really hard because, you know, I don't want to spin. But, you know, instead of having like a dual clutch, like where it's engaging for you, you're doing that part of the equation. So you just get comfortable. Just get comfortable doing that. Like when you're learning, you don't necessarily have to be good at shifting or able to drive spiritedly. I mean, right now, I could drive this car 100 mile per hour down the road. Because, you know, I know how to shift it properly and do what needs to be done. But then again, you know, I've been doing this for a little bit. So just practice. Like, watch what I'm doing. Second gear, see? How I hold it off to the left side? And when I want to go into third gear, I'll keep the clutch in. And practice looking ahead while you're doing it. That's the biggest thing people forget, is don't really look at the tach. You want to glance at them, maybe when you're first getting used to it. When you're first getting used to it, what you want to do is just kind of glance at it or kind of look down at the shifter like when you're getting in and just kind of place your hand near it. I mean, that's really all you got to do. But you want to practice looking ahead. Just glance at the tach, just like you do a speedometer. And, you know, second gear. At first, it kind of just take a couple glances at it if you're not sure what you're doing, but don't stare at it. Don't get in the habit of looking at it. I'm kind of looking at it for this video a little bit, to be honest, because, you know, I'm talking about it, but, you know, just practice smoothness. That's really all I can say. It's just practice getting used to it. It's a feel thing, really. I could tell you how to do it. You could memorize the steps of how to do it perfectly fine, but really, it's a feel thing. You gotta feel the car, because every car is different. No car is the same. Okay, I wasn't sure I was gonna make that, but, you know, just drive the car around like a normal car. Remember the points of like what I'm trying to tell you in this video. And if you ever come up to a hill, remember, just do the start thing, but do it quicker. And just add a little bit more gas. And when you're first learning, try to avoid hills altogether. That's really all I'm going to say for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something. This has been kind of a fun video to make. So, yeah, if you subscribe to the channel, I will see you guys next video. But if not, then that's just whatever. Oh, and when you park with the handbrake on, right? If you shut the car off, and you want to, this is what I call double safing it, push the clutch in or not, push it like in third gear. So that way if you're parked on a hill, it can't roll. If, you know, this fails, basically you're making it the car cannot move unless like it is hit by something, like another car, or like a tow truck is dragging it away. So you don't have to worry about rolling away. When you get back into your car, clutch in, neutral, and you're ready to go, you take the handbrake off, because if it rolls, you could hit the normal brake. That's just like the last little note I'll include in this. Yeah. Alright. Well, have a good one, guys.